tremors in one hand. Stiffness and slow movement is another sign of this incurable disease. This Sunday, Garth and Natasha speak with two prominent Trinbagonians about how Parkinson's has affected their lives and what everyone needs to know about this little understood disorder that can possibly lead to an opioid addiction.
I have been living with Parkinson's disease for the past 5 years. My name is Jonas P. Madeira, and this is my story.
I am David Rudder, and this is my story.
We will also be joined by two special surprise guests, but you have to tune in to know who they are. Listen live on I-95.5 FM or watch live on the I on Dependency Facebook page or YouTube channel. I on Dependency. We don't just share stories, we change lives.
I on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on I-95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Understanding Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's disease is one of the most common degenerative diseases of the nervous system. It is most common in people over 65 years of age and can affect younger people as well. Patients under 40 are classified as young-onset Parkinson's and make 10 to 15% of all cases. In Parkinson's, specific neurons in the brain start to malfunction. They make less of a chemical called dopamine that is involved in generating movement. Scientists do not yet know exactly what leads to the death of these dopamine-producing neurons. In most cases, they believe Parkinson's is due to a combination of genetic changes and environmental factors, with young-onset patients perhaps having a stronger genetic contribution. Parkinson's symptoms can be broadly divided into two types: motor or movement-related, and non-motor symptoms. Non-motor symptoms might show up earlier, but can occur throughout the disease. Non-motor Parkinson's symptoms can include loss of sense of smell, sleep problems, constipation, and depression. Some non-motor Parkinson's symptoms may be associated with Parkinson's medications. These can include daytime sleepiness, hallucinations, or seeing things that aren't really there, drops in blood pressure, and psychosis, or losing touch with reality temporarily. Tell your doctor if you have any of these symptoms. Changing medications may help. Tremor is not always present but can be the most noticeable motor symptom of Parkinson's disease in many cases. The tremor is usually in the hands at rest, but can also be present in the legs or even the chin. The resting tremor of the hands is often described as pill rolling, with the thumb and other digits involved. Other motor symptoms include slow movements or bradykinesia, stiffness, reduced facial expression, changes in posture, and trouble with walking and balance. Motor symptoms usually start on one side of the body and can spread to the other as the disease advances. There are a variety of rating scales that Parkinson's specialists sometimes use to track changes over time. Doctors sometimes divide Parkinson's disease into 5 stages. Progression is typically slow, but can vary from patient to patient. In Stage 1, mild symptoms, usually including tremor and other motor symptoms, affect one side of the body and produce little disability overall. In Stage 2, symptoms make daily activities more difficult. Movement problems are on both sides of the body. Posture and walking can be affected, and disability is mild. In Stage 3, movements are moderately slower, balance is more affected, which puts patients at greater risk of falling. Dressing, bathing, and doing other daily activities have become significantly more difficult. In Stage 4, significant mobility issues require the use of a walker to move around. Patients need considerable help doing daily activities and are unable to live independently. In stage 5, balance and movement problems are severe enough that the person needs a wheelchair and nursing care. They may also have noticeable mental changes, delusions, or hallucinations. Learning about the stages of Parkinson's can be frightening. However, not everyone with Parkinson's will progress to stage 4 or 5. It's important to remember that Parkinson's affects everyone differently, and you may or may not have all the possible symptoms. Doctors treat Parkinson's disease with medications to relieve symptoms. Starting these medications does not slow the progression, but can provide benefit to patients that improve and maintain their quality of life for many years. Advanced therapies such as surgical implantation of a deep brain stimulator may also help in select cases as well. If you suspect Parkinson's, a careful examination by a specialist in Parkinson's disease and other movement disorders is essential. You can search for Parkinson's Centers of Excellence, which are located in most major cities in the U.S. It's also important to learn your treatment options. With today's medications and treatments, the outlook for people with Parkinson's is much better than in the past. You and your doctor can create a personalized treatment plan together.
Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and welcome to Dependency. Right here on I-95.5 FM, live on the Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel. Good morning, Natasha.
Good morning, Garth. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. And again, thank you for joining us for this discussion about a topic that most of us are familiar with, whether we know it or not. Parkinson's disease is one of the medical unknowns. Not a lot is known about this disease, and we are going to share some information with you through the lens of persons who are living with Parkinson's.
So you will hear from this morning. After this break, we will start speaking with Mr. Jonas P. Madeira, who is no stranger to media at all, and we will speak with his daughter briefly, Laura Lee, who will give a perspective from family member point of view, sibling point of view, how you can treat with this and how can you understand what your parents are going through at this moment. We know there are hundreds of you out there who are experiencing this, so we are happy to share these moments with you. And after which we will speak with, you will hear from David Rudder, who we will hook up with after we speak with Mr. Madeira. And you will also hear from Mr. Rafiq Shah, who, if he is in a position to speak with us, he will speak with us. But before him, we have a guest coming in studio. We believe
Hence
that
the empty chair.
Yes, this is why the empty chair is here. But he is no stranger to especially this radio station either. They've all contributed to the well-being and the development of Trinidad and Tobago in their respective sphere. And
also I will be sharing some of my experiences with my mother, who's now passed, who was diagnosed with Parkinson's a few years before she passed. And now that she is no longer with us, I have come to realize some of the things that she was experiencing that I probably did not pick up on or did not realize was a symptom of the disease. So I will be sharing some of my experiences as well.
Right, and I'm sure you're witnessing your parent or grandparent right now who just cannot seem to control their movements, and in some cases, it happens in the left hand. Basically, I try to put myself in that position, and Natasha knows me. I get a headache, I run in for a Panadol one time. I just cannot, picture this happening. But where does it come from? Who would it affect? Because there are a number of people who did not experience it. So let's hear from these good people. Let's go to this break, and as right back, we will be hearing from Mr. Jonas P. Madeira first, and we'll have a brief chat with his daughter, Laura Lee. You're listening to Dependency. We'll be back.
Give me my phone.
What are you doing taking them kind of pictures? I'll tell mommy.
And I'll tell her you invaded my privacy.
Privacy? When you send those pics, you lose all privacy. It's like setting up a billboard with your naked pics for the world to see.
Those pictures are for my boyfriend's eyes only, and he'll never do that to me.
Yes, he can, or one of his friends or family, or someone can steal his phone. Sending naked pics can open you up to embarrassment for you, your family, and friends. You can be harassed by bullies. Your pics can be uploaded to websites and seen by everybody, even the wrong people, sex offenders. It can also affect you getting a good job in the future. Once those pictures go out, you can never get them back.
Okay, I'll tell my boyfriend delete them, and I'll delete these. I'm glad I have a smart little sister.
I'm still telling Mommy.
The government of Trinidad and Tobago, through the National Task Force Against Trafficking in Persons, continues to develop and implement effective policies and procedures to prevent and suppress human trafficking. To date, the National Task Force has developed 2 national plans of action against the crime of trafficking in persons. Trinidad and Tobago adopts a 4-pronged approach in its response to human trafficking. 1. Effective identification of victims and witnesses. 2. Prevention of human trafficking. 3. Protection of victims and witnesses. And 4. Prosecution of suspected traffickers. In the Ministry of National Security, we established a specialized unit called the Counter-Trafficking Unit to lead and manage Trinidad and Tobago's response to human trafficking. The Counter-Trafficking Unit works closely with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, the Immigration Division, and international law enforcement agencies to aggressively and proactively investigate and prosecute suspected human traffickers. Human trafficking is a serious crime. Rest assured, the government of Trinidad and Tobago and its agencies remain committed in the fight against human trafficking and will respond with immediate effect when the need arises.
We are the Counter-Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National Security, Trinidad and Tobago, safeguarding human life.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio, at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on 95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Thank you for staying with us. And this gentleman we are about to speak with is responsible for the strides and leaps that our independency made.
Indeed.
And briefly, let me just tell you that we are recipients of 11 Pan American Health Organization Awards for excellence in health journalism. And Mr. Madeira, being a chief judge at those awards that the PAHO did a few years ago, when we won our first award, we were so elated, we were excited, and we went to that award giving function. But before Mr. Madeira gave us that award, he beat everybody on the calves, including us. When he finished, I didn't feel like going to get the award because the way we submitted our entry,
yes.
We just pulled it from the recording that we didn't do any fancy stuff with it. We just sent that to PAHO. And still, we were given an award. But before he gave us it, he admonished how people in the media do things, and we need to step up our game.
Our production values were not up to scratch.
That's right. So he was glad to give us the award, but not before letting us know we have to do better. And after that, he never had to tell us that again, because then we concentrated on producing our independency. This is the gentleman we're about to speak with, and you know him. He's no stranger. Good morning, Mr. Madeira.
How am I on and why know these people who are in front of me? Because some of them should have been lining me up to this day when I was finished with the production that they did. Some time ago, but Eye on Dependency has become a feature in national broadcast life. And folks, congratulations. It's good to see you. It's good to hear you. It's good to know you're doing something that may help me and others who never took on this disease before now. And I am truly happy to see that you've steered the course and that you're making it.
Indeed, we are with God's grace and other graces. Now, tell us about your diagnosis. Let's get right into it. When you were diagnosed, what were you told, and how did you feel about the disease itself? Did you know anything about it?
I'm a child of sickness. Any illnesses that pass through this country, I would have had. But COVID, I was scared because I may not have been here if I had taken the COVID. I was a patient in the 1940s baby-centered diseases like diphtheria. I had diphtheria. I had measles. I escaped yellow fever. I escaped typhoid. But I kept getting these various diseases. I was what people call a marasmi baby. God, who don't understand it at all? You hear me?
Yes,
we
could
hear
you
you.
repeat that last line? Sorry.
That's your question about the diagnosis.
Yes, and how you felt.
I take my pronounced feelings on this back in 1976. I think it was May. I was feeling unwell for a couple of years, strangely enough. And I simply felt as though I could give up everything. But I had some responsible positions in this region which I wanted to contribute to and achieve. And part of it, maybe, I don't know, the experts could look and see whether this has anything to do with it. It's getting up 3 o'clock in the morning, jumping on a plane by 5 o'clock, being in the capital by 6 and 7, coming out of the capital by about 9 and 10, back on a plane to another capital. And so it went for the better part of 7 or 8 years at the CARICOM Secretariat in Georgetown, Guyana, where I served as advisor in media relations and public information. So a little unit that was responsible for doing communications work regarding the regional food and nutrition strategy, a food plan which directed itself at trying to encourage this region to do things and feed itself and to arrive at a position where they would direct resources to achieving the same. And I remember sitting down with Michael Manley in Melbourne, Australia, when we were at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. And him saying, wouldn't it be a wonderful thing if we can enter into this mode of relationship where you simply say, listen, I want to be a part of this, I am ignorant of it, but I will be schooled. And Michael Manley started to school people in the particular approach that he had. Food for money, instead of paying you cash, I pay you in food crops and food products. And that was supposed to be a big plus in the Caribbean community. Nevertheless, the point I wanted to make is that I was on a plane almost every hour, every day for maybe 4 or 5 times a week. And maybe that had an impact, I don't know. When I heard I had Parkinson's, it's only then I said, what is this? I couldn't remember what it was. That's to give you an indication. I never took it very seriously. And I just let it be. But I was always very tired. I made the grade on the planes, but I was tired. I made it in media, but I was also tired because you know what it is to operate in the media in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
But I enjoyed every moment of it. I enjoyed every moment. And when I was told I had this disease, definitely, I was crushed.
So, Mr. Madeira, your first sign and symptom was your tiredness.
Yeah. Very tired, almost to the point of not being enthusiastic about anything.
Right.
I did my work. I did it, and I think I did it well. But I always ended up on the side of why am I so tired? And I was not a doctor's person. I don't like going to doctors as you know, males in Trinidad. They don't like to go to the doctor at all. But I went to the expert. I went to the expert in the field, and he said to me, "Why are you feeling tired?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Is there any reason?" I said, "Well, I'm on a plane all the time." He said, "Yeah, but people go through that. What else could there be? Do you not have anything that you know of that could cause you to have those kinds of problems?" And I couldn't tell because I never really paid it any attention. And he looked at me and one blink said, "Parkinson's. Parkinson's." And I said, "But that sounds like an important name and an important disease." I smiled at it. And I went home and I told my wife, "I have Parkinson's disease." She said, "Parkinson's? Well, we meet him and talk to him about it now." That's the kind of reaction we gave to it. But as I progressed, I started taking it more seriously and found that the weaknesses in the limbs were getting a little more pronounced. The enthusiasm was waning a little bit, but it didn't prevent me from satisfying the part I wanted to play in national and regional life. So I said to myself, "Parkinson, whoever you are, you're not going to get me." Well, it looked as though he hired some help, because I did not sign up for old age when I was being prepackaged to come down to earth. I don't know who did it. I may have a word that sent me in some years to come, and I hope several years. But I tell you, it was not a nice feeling, but I wanted, above all things, I wanted to see my grandchildren. God gave me 5 or 6 or 7. How many boys? 5 boys.
2 boys.
2 boys.
Yeah.
You know. But yes, I was crushed. Yes, I've been taking it seriously. And yes, I want to give back a little from the little that I got by way of treatment and knowledge and so on.
So what is the one thing, though, that Jones, what is the one thing or 2 things that you think people who are not aware of the disease should know?
That it can creep up on you without you knowing it. And that if you feel any of the identification factors that you have to go through, take a look at it and take it seriously. And don't be afraid of Parkinson's. Some people, from the moment they hear the word disease, they're turned off and they don't want you in their living room because you have to be careful that you spread the disease. Right now, there must be hundreds of people out there saying, "Oh, Jones, we get it all." That's a reaction to get Jones. We have the thing. What thing you talking? Well, you know the thing where you can't talk at all.
Yes.
That's how it goes. And well, boy, check. You know this thing about eating with people and so on. So you have to watch that. That's the kind of reaction you get.
Wow.
And I have to laugh at it most times. But I encourage everybody who feels a withdrawal that they cannot control. That's the sign.
No, Mr. Madeira, you're not excuse me, sorry. You're not going down for the count. You're planning some advocacy. Tell us how you plan to approach this now and continue to raise awareness of the Parkinson's disease.
Well, I will go down for the count only when I can't count anymore.
Right.
Whether they stop counting as one of the factors that you have to deal with in life. Advocacy, listen, I spent the better part of 7 years as a CARICOM secretary doing the regional food and nutrition strategy. I'm going around and meeting several people who were involved in that kind of work. A lot of the top economists of this region have been involved in valuable work. They've been to the Far East helping places like China do some of their planning. and I am proud of our regionalists and will always be proud forever and ever. What was the other question you got?
Yes.
What we're doing about advocacy.
Advocacy, yes.
Advocacy, yes.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that and I mentioned the regional food and nutrition strategy for its principal purpose, drawing a kind of design from it where you engage the community and you go there and you lay the facts there and you explain to them what needs to be done. That is what I would like to do, but I'd like to do it with an umbrella organization backing whoever comes out to the head of it, because I'm getting old. Am I getting old? And I want to advocate for better treatment, the provision of information, allowing people to see themselves as part of a problem, but not an impossible part of a problem. And bringing together a sensitization among the. I think I'm hearing feedback, but that's all right. Once it doesn't come near broadcast, that's key. Yeah. I would like to form an organization in this part of the world, well, in Trinidad and Tobago to begin with, or even if it begins in Arima, where I can bring together people who have had the experiences that a number of us have had, and in doing so, raise the awareness, speed up some treatment, which might make the person more comfortable, because that we stress there is no cure. There is no cure. You can drink how much Fenton Bush you want. You could get Mafetite or any of those names that come forward. You're not going to be helped by calling fancy names. And I'm sure that my mother, who died at 103 and 4 years now, 104 days. I am sure the conversation she's having to ensure that what would be enabled her to pass her entry into heaven would have been knowledge of what she was noticing herself.
If you just join, sorry, Mister. Sorry about that. I was just going to let people know, if you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, and you're listening to the unmistakable voice of Mr. Jones P. Madeira, who is speaking with us about being diagnosed with Parkinson's and what he plans to do about it. Natasha will introduce his daughter in a while. David Rudder is already online, paying very close attention to the conversation, as we will be speaking with him afterwards. So, Natasha, you wanted to engage Laura.
Yes, just before we let Jones go, I wanted to ask Laura, who is one of Jones's children, and I'm assuming, now you correct me if I'm wrong, one of his primary caregivers. What the caregivers, because a lot of us, our age, are caring for not only children, but our elderly parents as well. What advice would you give to the caregivers, i.e. the children or relatives of someone who is living with Parkinson's?
Right. So good morning, everyone. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning, Mr. Rudder. What I would say, as being one of the primary caregivers for someone who is ailing with Parkinson's, is that there is a lot of patience, because you need to remember, or you need to educate yourself, that they are not in control of their motor skills. There are a lot of things that cannot be helped. Sometimes, not every day is a good day. Sometimes, I'll give example for my dad. Today would be a great day. He would get off the bed. He will walk around. He walks very slowly, but he'll walk around. And then there are days where he just doesn't want to get out of bed because his legs are so weak. There are days that sometimes he will not be hungry. There are days that sometimes he's like, I don't want to take these tablets anymore. So there's a lot of patience there. And this is where family comes in, because we're a very close-knit family. As I would like to say, we have a very strong tribe. And don't be afraid to lean on your tribe. Because for one caregiver, you can't do it alone. It's not something that is done by one person. you need the support of, family members, and this is where the village comes in, or your tribe comes in. You spoke about advocacy. I've written to the Ministry of Health on 2 occasions because I don't see, there's no society, there's no place for people with Parkinson's. If there is, it's unknown to me. What I would like to see happen, and I've been working closely with my father's neurologist, Dr. Pandey, who is headed at Medical Associates, that there needs to be a foundation, there needs to be a community, there needs to be a group, because there are many persons outside there with Parkinson's that they don't even know they have Parkinson's, and there is no support. And we need to build a community where there persons with Parkinson's could go. They can get treatment, because I can tell you, Apolivicab can be very expensive, right? And there are persons, again, there are persons out there who are suffering with the disease. They're unaware that they have the disease. There's no clinic that I know about that someone could go to say, listen, I think I have Parkinson's. How can I get this checked? So I've been working closely with Dr. Pandey to try to set up a foundation, because there is the Michael J. Fox Foundation. So we've been trying to advocate to get a foundation in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm calling on the Ministry of Health. This might be a good platform for someone to hear. There is a need for a Parkinson's Foundation in Trinidad and Tobago. But to those caregivers out there who are dealing with persons with Parkinson's, do not give up. You are not alone. There is light. You just need to have a lot of patience and a lot of love. A lot of love.
Yep.
Well said.
Yes.
Well
definitely
said, Laurie.
agree with that.
Well said. And we would like to thank you all so much. I know, especially for you, Laurie, you probably were up by 6 and getting everything ready to put on camera this morning. So I know you had your chore set out for you this morning, apart from getting your dad ready. So we thank you so much.
4 o'clock.
I can tell your hair looks beautiful from here, so we can tell you did some work before you came on camera. So,
listen,
what we want.
I promise myself, because my father, as long as I've known myself, my father has been in media, and I promise myself, Laura, you will never go into media.
And yet here you are. Here we are.
Truth never falls far.
Exactly.
And thank you for your time, and have a good Sunday.
Yes, Mr.
Thank
Madeira,
you so
any
much.
closing comments before we let you go, Mr. Madeira?
I just want to see something happen, and I'm going to be a part of it. And if you see a slow walking old man down the road somewhere on Abercrombie Street, or so I will be going down to 610 or another part of the street to make some noise. And David Rudder, it is great to have you on board, to have you see and know the power in the power. You're a great guy. We did some work together on the regional food and nutrition strategy. I don't know if you remember me and the meeting we had at your home. And I said, what a wonderful human being. And I hope that he makes it good, and he has.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Madeira. Thank you, Laurie. God bless you all, and thank you for sparing these few moments with us. And we will
stay tuned if you can.
Yes, and
to the rest of the show.
keep tuning in. Yes, and Laurie, feel free to let us know if you have any other thing to interject before we sign off. Please, you're most welcome to come back in and let us know. All right? Okay then. Take care, and thanks again. So, folks, that was Jones P. Madeira, and alongside him, his daughter, Laurie, who, of course, kindly consented to tell us about his journey. That's Mr. Madeira's journey with Parkinson's. And we are so happy that he was able to open the innings here. We have David Rudder online, and we're going to go to this quick break. And when we return, we're going to hear from David Michael Rudder, who made that announcement recently that it was time for him to, give the stage a rest because of his experience and his diagnosis with Parkinson's. These 4 people here have one thing in common, folks, and I'm going to try to tie that in before Mr. Madeira gave a hint. The having to be on a plane every day and very often, and you're running yourself ragged. There's a connection here. Let's take a break. And just for those of you on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe to the channel, please. And also on Facebook. We'll be right back. Stay right there.
Ah, boy. Feel like going and buy myself a senorita tonight.
Nah. You know you might be promoting slavery.
Slavery? What you talking about?
Hey, modern day slavery or human trafficking is just what some of these people just do. You know some of these women were tricked to come here? Some are held against their will, abused, and even beaten. Most times the girls don't even see any of the money that is paid for them. And every night, they just have to come out looking nice and sexy for somebody like you. Human trafficking is a serious problem and a serious crime. Persons who solicit commercial sex services may be contributing to human trafficking. A message from the Counter-Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National Security.
Hello. Hi, this is Patricia Kent from HMP London. Can I speak to Miss Sheila, please? This is Miss Sheila. Hi, I've got an important call for you. Please hold the line.
Mommy, it's Sherry.
Oh, God, Sherry, we looking for you all the time. 3 weeks now. Where you going?
Mommy, I'm calling to tell you I get locked up. I had drugs in my luggage and I'm in England right now. In jail.
Oh, God, Sherry, what? What you do? How you reach there? Oh, God, how we gonna go?
Oh, God, Mommy, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. It'll be all right. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Eye on Dependency. Reality radio at its best every Sunday on I-95.5 FM. Don't miss it.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on I-95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Thank you for staying with us, and remember to like and subscribe if you're tuned in on YouTube or Facebook, and thank you as well to those of you joining us on I-95.5 FM.
Give praise, children. Give praise. Give praise, children. Yeah. Give praise. Give praise, children. Yeah. Give praise. Give praise, children. Our Father who has given us His arms that we can all feel like we're a
magnify his praises this morning with having these stalwarts still with us. And before I introduce David Rudder, it was one of my proudest moments, Natasha, and those of you listening. And remember, those of you who are on Facebook, please tell us of your experience if you have a parent or anybody, or if you yourself have Parkinson's or you have a parent, please feel free to share it with us on how you've been dealing with it. It was one of my proudest moments when I was enlisted or when I was included on the cast of Spectacular. As a youngster in the entertainment industry, just I was chosen to be one of the cast members. And it was indeed a pleasure to be sitting in the same dressing room with David Michael Rudder.
Royalty.
I will never forget that. That was, me being that wet behind the ear and the same dressing room with Gypsy and Luther and David Rudder and Tommy Joseph, and that was remarkable. And decades later, here he is now with that big announcement, of him not thinking of leaving the stage and not entertaining us any longer. David Rudder, welcome to Dependency once again. You're no stranger to this platform, and we thank you for accepting the invitation to speak with us this morning. Tell us, David. Tell us, David, what this decision for, and before you answer, Natasha, and we just did a search, right?
Yeah.
And apart from Michael J. Fox, Muhammad Ali, we have Phil Collins, George Bush, Neil Diamond, Jesse Jackson, Richard Lewis, Ozzy Osbourne, Janet Reno. All of these folks were struck with this disease. When did you realize this happened to you?
Well, first of all, I'd like to clarify something. I usually do a concert every 5 years. And at these concerts, I usually perform for about 4 hours, 4 to 5 hours long. And that is what I was saying. I'm no longer going to be doing the 4 to 5 hours show.
Okay.
But I will be on stage still, doing shorter gigs until at that point where I can't do it anymore. So I want to clarify that, because sometimes you say something on the news, it goes out, and by the time it reaches the third person,
yes,
it changes,
Yes.
So
yes.
I'm performing, I'm still, but I won't be doing the long marathon shows again.
Oh, I see. Okay. And you're right, because how the media reported it is as if you were done with that from your last performance here at Soundforge. So thanks for clearing that up. We appreciate that. But again, you listen to Mr. Madeira, and when did you realize something was wrong?
Well, the same thing. I travel. I live in the airports. Same thing like with Mr. Madeira, and I keep getting this sense of tiredness. I just want to reach to my hotel room and sleep. And also when I'm walking with the family, I realize over time suddenly I'm kind of walking behind. I'm not keeping up, and they have to slow down to. So that was another sign too. And then I got a slight tremor on my left arm. And in 2020, I told my wife, I said something wrong. So she said, well, why don't you, instead of complaining, go to the doctor? And they did a few tests via YouTube with me, and the doctor said, I wanted to come in, you have to come in to see me in person. And I went in to him, and he did a few tests again, and he said, you have Parkinson's. And that was, it was a kind of funny moment, because it was like, I felt kind of like, oh boy. But the same time, I felt at ease, like knowing that they have the thing, it freed up my spirit. So the next move is, what do I do now? What are the things that people with Parkinson's do? So apart from taking medication, exercise, I've done all these things. I'm doing all these things, but the major thing is that it's a frame of mind. The way you think, the way you see life with this new reality, it's a great help. It feels sometimes like I don't have, it disappears for a while, just because of a positive attitude. So I think that it's something that can be managed for many years if you know what you do, if you know what you're doing, how you feel about it is the most important thing, I think. If you feel depressed, you have a problem, and even some of the medication that you get might invite that kind of vibe. But I think a proper positive attitude is the key to wellness within this in the disease.
David, have you been
before
able?
you go on, the people on Facebook are complaining about a feedback. Shortman, I don't know where that's coming from. Could you help us understand? Or I don't know if there's anything we can do about it. But let's see if we could correct that so everyone can hear our guests. Go ahead.
Yeah, David, I was just going to ask if you, since you announced your diagnosis, since you've been diagnosed, have you been able to connect with other persons living with the disease? And is that, if so, has that been helpful?
No, I haven't been in contact with people with disease. But I think it's just my family, as Mr. Madeira's family is very tribal. But, you know, so the children, my sisters, my wife, especially my daughter, everybody is, you know, they're concerned, but they're not afraid to pull me up when they're slacking. And I think that puts you in a positive frame of mind, and it extends into how this disease affects you. Because I think I had it after looking back at 2000 was when I was diagnosed. Then there came the pandemic, the 2 years of doing nothing. And I think that could lay you down for take you deeper into the disease. But I use it as a chance to exercise, go take long walks. My wife bought one of those bikes, stationary bikes. So I go riding because there seems to be like a connection with motor skills and riding, bicycle riding. It helps. So but looking back, I felt that I had this thing for a couple of years before I knew it. I just put it on the tiredness because sometimes I might be going to do with my 2 or 3 shows per month, flying somewhere, London or wherever, and I take the train. I was at the airport. Then I sit at the airport for a couple of hours waiting on my flight. Then 7 8 hours flying. Then you land. You all you want to do is go and sleep. So it just felt like it's tiredness from the traveling, But it's a strange kind of tiredness. It invites you to, why don't you sit down? Sit down. Don't go run. Don't go walk. Sit down. It's almost like another voice on you. That's when you know you're into the mess of Parkinson's, because you get some that sense that you want to just plop down and not get up, and that's the biggest problem. But I sort of conquered that, and it does free up your spirit quite a bit. But I think when you walk outside, you see the sun's right and the sunset, and you see people walking, and you just want to be. I think that's the key. With all the tablets and what have you that you take, I think just the attitude of just living and enjoying life does so much. Sometimes the tremor in my left arm would go away for a week or two, and I said to myself, wait, it's gone, because, and I realized it's because of what your attitude is the key to the whole thing. If you dare want to beat up yourself and feel sorry for yourself, you put yourself in real trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, David, you know what's so strange to me is that no one can tell you where it comes from, but you can be diagnosed with it. That's kind of confusing to me. Eh? You know,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, you your immune system not good, so you went from the cold to the hot and you catch the cold. That could happen, but we don't know where Parkinson's comes from. But once you go by a doctor, they can tell you have it. That to me is strange.
But
You know,
the thing about it is, your arm, if you have it like that tremor in your arm, that's a big sign. Then all you need to ask is to spread your fingers, close your hand, spread your fingers, and that's what it. In a few minutes they say, yeah, you have it. Very simple exercises, very basic,
yeah.
but always accurate.
Now, could this lead to an opioid addiction? Because for some people, there are people who cannot stand pain and will live on opioids so that they can at least have some ease, during their life. Do you think this can lead to an opioid addiction?
No, I don't think they use opioids for Parkinson's.
To treat Parkinson's.
Okay, so there's no medication.
It's a dopamine. It's called dopamine. It's what the brain produces to make you walk and dance and whatever.
Right.
It's just that it's not supplying that again, or supplying enough. So the tablets are actually man-made versions of the dopamine of what the brain is. So that's what that is.
And how many times a day do you have to take that?
3 times.
I see Laurie and Jones are still with us. Laurie, you know of this this dopamine tablet?
Yes, I do. It's what we use, what Dad uses, called Apolidoca. And Mr. Rudder, I'm glad that you take it only 3 times a day. Dad has to take it at least 6 times for the day.
Wow.
Double the amount, yeah. So it's good that you're taking it 3 times a day.
Wow.
Yes.
Relatively good.
Wow, and this is what I'm talking about, the
volume of
it,
medication,
and you depend on it now to at least have some
to minimize the symptoms.
Yes.
I would imagine.
Yeah. So David, so now what's in the future for you, David?
Well, I'm still working. I just don't, like I said, don't do the long shows again. So I just keep working until I can't do it anymore. But that's a long way off.
Right. So but how do you
nuisance, David, are a nuisance.
say that again, June?
Said he'll be a nuisance.
Since calling on you for advice, for participating, and so on. So you put yourself in trouble.
David, I don't know if you heard that, but I think someone said, do you have another device on in your background, David? Because people say they're getting a feedback from your end. Okay.
No, I'm getting an echo, very strong echo from Joan.
Right. Okay. But Jones said he's going to be calling on you. He's going to be a nuisance, and he's going to be calling on you to join his advocacy. How do you feel about and what do you think should be done nationally, at least, to create more awareness of this disease?
Well, I think it's very simple. The thing about it is it's such a complicated disease, but at the same time it's very simple in a sense, because if you have a tremor, especially on your left arm, if you have just a little tremble, as we say in Trinidad.
Right.
Yes.
That's probably a sign that you have it. Simple as that.
Right.
If you have problems walking, like if you have to watch your steps and walk make small steps, you probably have that.
Right. So it's knowing the signs, really.
Knowing the
tremors.
very simple. Yeah.
the stiffness and slowness of movement, those things are signs.
Yeah.
David, we want to thank you so much for being with us this morning and spending the time with us this morning to tell your side of the story. And any shows coming up soon? You have any stage appearances coming up?
I have one in about a week's time in Trinidad. Then I go to the US, and then I go to Antigua, and then London. So I'm still traveling.
Traveling, yes, jumping on that plane.
I have little techniques I use. I take aisle seat so I can go exercise on the plane.
Right.
I utilize the long walks to the gate as an exercise tool.
Right.
Things like that. So.
Yep. Can we also expect some new music from you soon in the coming months or years?
Yes, a couple of songs will be coming out soon.
Okay,
All
great.
right.
Looking forward to that.
Fantastic.
David, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And please feel free to keep in touch with us as we continue to keep the awareness going with this Parkinson's disease.
Of course. Mr. Madeira, we talk.
All right.
Okay, David, thanks a lot. Mr. Madeira, you heard that, right? Already heard that? David said he will keep in touch with you as well.
Yeah, for sure. We appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Rudder.
Okay, great.
All right. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye. So we want to, Lorly, as long as you and Mr. Madeira plan to stay with us, we'd be happy to have you. And we're going to try to get in touch with Rafiq in a moment. And then by now, somebody should be walking in. Here he is. He's peeping in the studio.
As we name going.
As we are about to call his name, his colleague is online here. And we are joined by Mr. Dale Enoch. Dale Enoch, good morning.
Our surprise guest this morning.
Very much. Yes, this is our surprise guest.
Send them a memo.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, Dale Enoch. Thank
morning.
you very, very much. And you could say hi to Lauralee and Mr.
Yes,
Madeira.
hi. Good morning, Lauralee, Mr. Madeira, and David Rudder, if he's still on.
He is.
A special good morning to you all.
Yes. Dale, thank you so much for agreeing to sit with us. You in the hot seat this morning. You are so accustomed to interviewing people here.
Yeah.
And now you are in the hot seat this morning. And we thank you for agreeing to do that. We have your colleague, Mr. Madeira, online. And I'm sure you will probably be listening.
Yes, I was, because I was very interested in hearing Jones P., Raffique Shah, David Rudder, because these are people who are living the experience a lot longer than I have been.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it was important to hear what they have to say.
Dale, you've been diagnosed with Parkinson's.
Yes, just a few months ago, actually.
Just a few months. And you did not want, how when you started, you listened to David, you listened to Mr. Madeira. When did you get your first
sign?
I started having the tremors. But they started, surprisingly enough, they started on the left side, but quickly jumped to the right side. And that's where they are at the moment. So my right side is, as I speak now, my right side is experiencing a lot of the tremors. And what started on the left, I wondered what it was, But as Mr. Madeira knows and Rafiq Shah knows, when you're in the media, you don't take the time to really check yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I have had that experience because I have a heart condition too.
Right.
So I've had to deal with that over the last couple of years. But I didn't pay much attention to the tremors on the left side. When they transferred to the right side and became absent on the left side, that's when I started thinking something is amiss.
That's weird, then. How could switch sides? I mean, Parkinson's that smart? It could just switch sides on you just...
Well, it did. Now, let me tell you, the right side now, the arm and hand and the leg, that's where the tremors are manifesting themselves.
Right.
And I listened to Mr. Madeira about the symptoms and what is likely to happen or what could happen. Of course, I was diagnosed by a doctor who at first called them, and I don't know, it was such a strange title. He first diagnosed me with essential tremors, something called essential tremors. And I said, essential? What tremors essential? Because, of course, I'm taking the words very literally.
Yes.
Right.
And he said, I'm not sure if it's going to transfer, if it's going to develop or evolve into Parkinson's, but it's very likely. He said that the second visit I think I made to the very same doctor that Jones P. talks about. And then during one of my during one of my visits, he then said, well, I have to tell you, it has evolved into a mild case of Parkinson's. That's how he described it. A mild case of Parkinson's. And he then put me on medication, and that's what I'm on now. Laura Lee talked about she named the medication. That's what I'm on.
Okay.
And Laura Lee, I have to take it 3 times a day.
Right.
Like David.
Right.
And someone is asking on Facebook, Dale, the tremors, are they painful in any way, or is just uncomfortable?
It's just very distracting, very uncomfortable. It's not painful. I feel no pain, but I must say that any stressful situations can also contribute to, you see the rapidity of the tremors depending on what kind of...
Yes, that's key. It's frightening when it hits you in the morning at 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. And you can't control it, and it keeps beating on anybody who's on the bed next to you, because the tremors can become pretty heavy.
So are you saying, Jones, that you do have, if I may ask,
Sure.
that you are in pain at times?
No, I am in a crampy situation, as I am now, incidents on the left. I feel as though the muscles on the limb are gone. And I have to fight hard to get this hand to move. I have to instruct the hand or the arm. Listen, I want you to move from the wrist up to the under the arm. And I said, sometimes I make fun, they know how I make fun at home, and I look at the arm and said, who are you looking at? Why are you looking at me? You hear an instruction from me, what is the matter with you? But it's not as painful as one feels with other symptoms.
As it looks, yeah.
Can I say something?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, sure, David.
The trembling actually feels nice.
What?
It feels like it's very seductive, eh? When it happens, you say, but what's going on with this hand here? But there's a nice feeling about it. I tell my wife, I say, but it's feeling nice.
Okay, that's a first.
Well, that's a first. David, you.
The thing about it is that it's very seductive. And that's it pulls you deeper and deeper into the problem. You know? That's what you have to define.
Well, I can't say that I feel any pleasure at all. I can't say that I feel that I've felt that yet,
feeling
David.
Seduced.
But if you're correct, I look forward to that.
What is the rating of this program at this station?
Strictly G-rated, but feel like we're getting up in there.
But to get back to your question,
yes.
Yeah. I don't feel any pains. There are times when during the night there's a stiffness that I feel along the leg, the right leg, and I find myself, and now that Jones B has explained it in that way, those are the times that I find myself having difficulty moving the leg.
Okay.
So that happens from time to time, not regularly, but it happens.
Yep. And that reminds me of what my mother was going through as well, the stiffness and the inability to move, because a lot of the time she had great difficulty sitting and standing, getting into bed because of that.
Hi, Natasha, Dale. If you guys can hear us, we can't hear you. There's no audio.
And the action.
She has some brain fog.
I don't know if I can call it that, or maybe I'm just getting old and forgetting some of the things that I might want to say. But I have been feeling that kind of disconnect from time to time in recent times.
Right.
Yeah.
No, folks. If you just joined us, you're listening to Dependency, of course, and we are discussing Parkinson's. In studio, we have Mr. Dale Enoch, and online video call, we have Mr. Jones Madeira and his daughter Lauralee, and David Rudder. We'll try to hook up Mr. Raffique Shah in a while, because Raffique told me that sometimes this time of the morning, he has it, and sometimes when he's speaking to me on the phone, you can actually hear his hands shaking. But it's really... Let me make the connection I was thinking about. David Rudder, Jonas Madeira, Dale Enoch. You all have one thing in common. You use your brains a lot. You're up early, you go to sleep late, you have to manage, you have to run the show, you have to coordinate, you have to do everything. David and Jones travel a lot, you travel a lot too. Is there some kind of connection there with with the overuse of the brain? David, let's start with you. Do you think there's a connection there? Because you write your own music.
Yeah, I really can't. I really don't know. I don't.
Gary.
That's bad, because it just comes on you one day and that's it. But there could be a connection. Yes.
Mr. Madeira, what do you think? Lauralee, is there that overuse of the brain at times? Because remember, as leaders and creators of content, you'll have to use your brains a lot.
I'll tell you something that happens to me quite often. I may have something to write, and God knows I began writing my book, and just felt, oh, you to write a book. So I started to make a conclusion on myself, and I didn't think I was worthy to write a book for the nation. That's how I felt. And it didn't throw me into a depression. It threw me into thinking positive about doing the book in another form or fashion. Tony Fraser will tell you that I'm quite lazy when it comes to that kind of thing. I tend to go back. But I cannot make a definitive connection between what is on the brain and what's in the system. Well, I'm very serious when I tell you, they listen to me. The brain listens when he knows I said, listen, I'm going to boot the wall. And I'm glad nobody hears me. Sometimes people say, look, you're watching me like me on a watch.
Because
I can't make the connection.
Right.
Except kind of instance,
Because we're talking about neurological, right? And it says here, Parkinson's disease, certain nerve cells called neurons in the brain gradually break down or die. And Dale, you have to get up.
And there are times when I do wonder if there is some connection, because I haven't been told that by my doctor, but certainly I feel sometimes, as I tried to explain earlier, I feel sometimes there is some kind of marrying of what's happening here in the head and what's happening with your daily activities. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a stronger connection.
Yeah, I too. I am, because Rafiq Shah too as well. Rafiq has a leader in his own right, and he's a journalist, he's a columnist. and he so I don't know. I'm just thinking that it's because of that overuse of brain at times, and the more intelligent you are, the deeper you get, and it's work the brain more.
Well, let me tell you, when I was first diagnosed, I deliberately did not go online to check up on these because I didn't, and maybe this is not good, but I just didn't want to be saddled by what I would have been reading or learning and what I was experiencing. So I deliberately, for months, for weeks, I stayed away from going online. I stayed away from watching documentaries that tell you about the disease. I listened to Michael J. Fox in an interview that he had because, as you know, he has been this American actor. He has been he has been dealing with this for a long time. Yeah. And he now has a documentary called Still. And he was being interviewed, and I stumbled upon the interview. And then I had to stop because I had to stop myself from listening or watching more of it because I was feeling there was a bit of depression stepping in, and I was afraid of learning more
about it.
That may not be a good thing, but that is what I thought I needed to do to cope at that time.
Right.
That's understandable. And someone has asked online what if it's a hereditary disease, and just to share some information with you, the cause of Parkinson's is unknown, to just stress that, but there are several factors that researchers think play a role, and one is genes. Researchers have identified specific genetic changes that can cause Parkinson's disease, but these are uncommon except in rare cases with many family members affected by the disease. However, certain gene variations appear to increase the risk of Parkinson's with a relatively small risk for each of these genetic markers. So genes may play a role, and also environmental triggers. Now, we spoke about the traveling, the air travel. That is also a factor for my mother as well, because she has traveled the world several times. I don't know if there's a link. I feel that there might be, but environmental triggers could include exposure to certain toxins or other environmental factors that increase the risk of Parkinson's. But they say the risk is small. And again, this is one of the hard parts about this disease, is that so little is known about it. And there's virtually no way of telling why someone gets the disease and how it progresses.
Well, that's one of the questions that I was asked by my doctor after the diagnosis, and he asked me if I had it in the family. And I couldn't say because I never experienced, I never witnessed anything like that among my family members, my relatives. So I said no.
What else could you say?
But my father had Parkinson's.
All right, so
I didn't take it seriously at all.
Rafiq Shah, and I'm glad David and Jones still here. But Rafiq has been, you can say, I've described as a veteran with Parkinson's because he's been last 13 years. He has been experiencing it. I just spoke with him and he said he's shaking terribly now. So, but his daughter has agreed to speak with us, who has been his caregiver for quite a while, and she being a veteran caregiver with her dad, maybe she can help us understand some things and how we can work around and work with the person suffering with disease. Good morning, ma'am.
And the husband or the wife is citing all of these issues and problems
Hello?
that she's.
Morning.
Morning.
Yes.
Hi, morning. We're now hearing you.
Yes, we're now hearing you, Ms. Shah, right? Yes, so thank you very much for agreeing to speak with us and, tell us about your dad. And he's been dealing with this for the last 13 years, we correct?
Yes.
How would your family been dealing with this, and what advice would you give to people listening to us right now, how to treat with this?
Very tough, and it started off very tough as well, because in the first place you have to deal with the diagnosis. Having been diagnosed with any disease
many people go into, sometimes they shut down. And that was what was happening with him in the beginning. He started thinking, well, he would be able to do so many things because you 2 to 3 walking, well, practically running, because he used to walk faster than some people could run. And how many miles a day? I think it was about 2 to 3 miles a day. Yeah, you're going from that to not being able to help yourself or do anything. And, well, at least you shut down at that point when you get the diagnosis. And he started reading extensively. He started reading extensively about it. And I don't know if that helped or if that made things a little worse. Because at that point, he would have been getting so much information based on what happens with the body that I think it could have made him a little worse, a little more depressed about his situation. So that's just the beginning. And then that was like 12 years ago, because I think his diagnosis came 12 years ago, but before that he had been having problems. And as for advice, yes, patience is the key. However, I myself am struggling with that right now, having that level of patience. Yesterday I was attempting to seat him on his chair, and twice, not through his fault obviously, through my fault, he ended up falling. Now, that's another thing that you have to talk about, the falls.
Yes.
Right? And it's not just you stand and you fall in one spot, you know. It's you think you're moving, and you're moving at a speed that takes you and you just fall. That's it. You don't even know how it happens. We've had so many dishes broken, so many things, and that's fine. Those things are replaceable. But the falls, the injuries, having to put gauze on injuries and stuff like that, yeah, it's a lot to deal with. A lot to deal with.
No, Misha, and then having to deal with someone who was independent, and I'm sure Laurelie has to deal with this too as well. Having to, someone who make their own decisions, go where they want. They're very independent, very strong, powerful people. Now
have to rely on others to help them to do very simple things.
Well, that was a part of the mental block.
Yeah.
That was the mental block. The mental block came in where he was unable to do things for himself. And yes, there is a direct correlation between use of the brain and mobility. Because whenever he has to do his columns, invariably on the day that we start, because I type now, on the day that he starts, he has it rough. And sometimes after he finishes it peters off at that point. But once he has to use his brain for that purpose, it becomes very rough at that point. The tremors are very bad. And then I know a lot of people spoke about the tremors, but I don't know if anybody spoke about the rigidity that comes with it.
Yes.
The rigidity is far, far, far worse than the tremors.
Correct.
I tried to put a positive spin on anything.
Are we hearing Rafiq in the background there?
No.
No, I think
okay.
either
Jones P was saying
Jones P was saying something.
Oh, okay. Well, let's.
Could you repeat that,
Jones?
June?
Yes, he said, there you go, one of the symptoms of the thing. That can happen.
The rigidity, what he was saying is that the rigidity is also part of the problem. Yeah. And it just happens just with time.
Stronger.
Yeah.
You feel stronger.
The rigidity goes on for hours sometimes. He would sit here, and if his bedtime would normally be at 10 p.m. Sometimes it goes until midnight, 1 o'clock. The rigidity, the legs, the toes are curled inwards.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right? And this is something that he can't get away from, and he has to sit there because he can't go. It doesn't make any sense going onto the bed because you're still going to experience the problem there, and now he'll be a little bit incapacitated because he's in a lying position as opposed to sitting up on a chair and being able to at least rub it because the muscles get so rigid they hurt. It's very painful.
Yes,
And,
yes.
and
My mother
I
experienced
don't
that as
know
well.
if you have this issue. They normally don't like, and Dale, I'm not sure if you have this issue as well. Lying flat is an issue
Mm-hmm.
because when I put Dad to bed, most times he's almost sitting up.
Yep.
He cannot lie flat because he feels as if he's choking in the neck area or he's falling.
No, I don't think Daddy has that issue. I don't think he has the issue of like feeling choking when you're lying down. Do you ever get that? No, but for him, the lying down and the rigidity, that's his problem. And what he prefers to do is be seated with the legs put up a little bit and well bent at the knees, of course, because that is the most comfortable position for him.
But somebody talked about the curling of the toes. And it just hit me because I've had that experience.
Really?
Yes.
I've had that experience, particularly at nights. The curling of the and I made no connection between that. That's why this program is so good. I made no connection between that and what I was diagnosed with.
Right.
Yes.
But what about medication, Ms. Shah? What is any medication at all?
Yes, he uses the Levocab. He takes the maximum dosage, which is 8 for the day. And what he has started doing sometimes is instead of taking the entire tablet or instead of taking a half, he takes it in little bits, and he finds that you have to find the sweet spot, as I would like. I'll put it that way. You have to find the sweet spot by using the medication accordingly. As a matter of fact, there's a documentary where a doctor said he doesn't understand why there's a cap on the amount of medication a person can take with respect to Parkinson's, because tremors don't necessarily, sorry? Yeah, and the sleep disorder. Oh, okay.
Ah, yes. But
Yes,
before
the
you go
sleep
there,
disorder.
the in terms of the medication for Parkinson's, I have read in my short research that over time it loses its effectiveness, which is why sometimes you have to increase the dosage.
Yes. So it loses the effectiveness. So you are forced to increase the dosage. Now, remember, Parkinson's has not been much funding has not been given to Parkinson's by Big Pharma. Perhaps because there aren't many. It's still seen as not many people in the world suffer from it. With respect to that as well, there is another medication that he was taking, which we got from England. I think it's Ongensis, yes. And that one actually did help a little, but was it a considerable difference? Not necessarily, because there were times that I still have to, and the cost was exorbitant, meaning it's like for a 30-day supply, it's probably around 1,300 TT or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So there was that, but it does help, I suppose, depending on the stage that you are at. And that is in addition to the Levocab.
Right. Wow. If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, and we in studio we have Mr. Dale Enoch. Online we have Mr. David Rudder and Mr. Jones from Madeira and his daughter Laurelie, and we are speaking with now Rafiq Shah's daughter, and she's telling us, about his experience, and he's been diagnosed for the last 13 years.
And she was about to talk about the sleep disorders, and this is also something that my mother struggled with, falling asleep and staying asleep, because she would often wake up at odd hours of the morning and want to get off the bed, but obviously unable to on her own. Now, what is your experience with these sleep disorders?
He can't sleep. It's unfortunate, but there are times when he goes into the bed and he remains. So at night, sometimes he may get about 4 hours of good quality sleep, and the rest is just him being awake. So sometimes he would go in during the day, at least twice now, and I mean, it's like a cat nap, 15 minutes and you come back out. So what we started doing, for him to at least get the 4 hours of quality sleep, we started using another drug to aid with that, a Rivotril.
Wow.
So he's been using the Rivotril, which started at, if I am not mistaken, he started at either a quarter of the Rivotril. He would later move on to a half of the Rivotril, and now he's up to 1, because the quarter and the half, they aren't helping anymore. So he's up to 1
packet of Rivotril is 5 milligrams. That's a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
It's a 2 milligram.
It's 2 milligrams because we
Yes,
tried
2 milligram.
Rivotril. We tried Rivotril once for this sleep, and that landed him up at St. Augustine because he was out of it, totally out of it, not able to walk, not able to speak, nothing. So we actually stopped the Rivotril, and he's now on something called Palaxid, which it helped, but it's not as much. We tried the melatonin for sleep as well, which is a more natural aid, a more natural sleep aid. And what was recommended to us recently is something called Seroquel. We haven't started that yet because you just get tired of all these tablets, all these drugs that you have to take, and him not being as active as he would normally be. He doesn't get the opportunity to work the medication out of the system. So we're really free of the amount of medication. So we try to keep it as natural as possible. So there's the apolivocab, which is a liver looper, and the Palaxid, and we try to give them as much complex vitamins as possible because that also helps with circulation, because you also get circulation issues as well with Parkinson's. That's also another side effect of it. So
Get grandchildren with me.
Now, David, you listening to all of this, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm very lucky when I think about it, because so far I haven't had much problem. I had a problem falling. Sometimes you have to know how to turn your corner also, because if you get distracted at all, you can fall. But so that's one part of it. But listen to Raffique's story and Jonas' story, Dale's story. I think I've been very lucky so far that I haven't had, what we call bad experiences,
Right.
And I think it's just, I've been sick for about 30 something, almost 40 years with anything except this, So I don't know if that is a factor in it, but
I know you feel
the balance issue, and this very often leads to falls and so on. I haven't fallen, but I have to be always very careful about my movements and how swift my movements are, because I can see myself falling if I'm not careful.
Right.
And that is also something that is very, very common, that I've read and heard from one or two interviews. So that is the falling thing. I mean, Michael J. Fox said he has broken just about everything that could be broken on his body because of falls.
Right. Ms. Shah, now, have you, in your years of dealing with your father, have you ever thought about advocacy as well and creating awareness? Because somebody asked here, these medications, can you get them for free from the
CDAP
or CDAP or anything?
Levocab is on CDAP, yes, the Levocab is on CDAP. You can get those, that on CDAP, but anything else, no, I don't think Rivotril is on CDAP. I'm not too sure, but we haven't checked that one. But I know the Levocab is on CDAP, and it depends on the amount the person is using. The doctor will write up the prescription accordingly.
Lorelei?
No, Rivotril is not. It's not available on CDAC. Neither is the Palaxid. So those, and neither is the Seroquel. So those you need to purchase, and those could, depending on the dosage, could run you. I know for sure the Seroquel and the Palaxid can run you into about $600 a month for a month's supply, depending on the dosage that you have to take. And normally the Seroquel and the Palaxid is at night because it helps with the sleep. But it could run you into about $600 a month for a month's supply, depending on your dosage.
Deal?
Well, I because I have medication for the heart condition, so I take like about 3 or 4 different types of tablets for the heart condition. So this you have to note that this condition comes on top of this of the previously diagnosed, and I've had the surgeries and all that. But in terms of, I think the levodopa, I think that is on CDAP. Am I?
Yes.
Yes.
That's on
Because because I've gotten that. So there isn't anything else that has been prescribed for me at the moment as far as Parkinson's.
Michelle, before we let you go, would you be willing to join, because you heard Mr. Madeira and you heard David, and would you be willing to be part of advocacy to create a little more awareness for this, and would you be willing to be part of that?
Yes, as being a caretaker, having been a caretaker for the last 13 years and seeing what Parkinson's patients go through, and believe me, I've seen every side of Parkinson's there is. Every single side. I have no problem with that, as long as time permits. However, I am his primary caretaker, caregiver right now.
Right.
So my time is not necessarily mine. Yeah, so that's the only thing.
So someone asked,
I have no problem with that.
So any other advice to caregivers or those recognizing it in others? How do you approach and get that, family member to know, hey, something wrong, let's do something about this?
Well, luckily for me, my dad was always he was always very independent and never afraid to find out things about himself. So if he saw a problem, because it started when it was at my grandmother's funeral, he was attempting to hold the casket and walk with it, and he realized that he was drifting, and he had to call my brother in to hold it. And he realized, okay, you know what, something is wrong, I need to go and check this.
Right.
But if you do notice the signs in someone, I would say take a very gentle approach. Not many people, just tell them go get it checked out. Don't make a diagnosis because we're not doctors. So take a gentle approach, because it can be your body is betraying you. It can be very frustrating for a Parkinson's patient. I would know my dad goes through this, and he and I are always, we argue, because it's difficult at times. And people will tell you, well, have patience. But sometimes you run out of it. And there are other times that everything is fine and you're able to do what you have to do to the best of your ability.
Michelle, thank you so much for spending a little time with us. Please give our regards to Rafiq.
I will.
And, regardless of what, we love you, Rafiq, and we wish you all the best. And continue to do last week you did a column on Parkinson's, actually, ironically.
Yes.
We did a column, so those of you could go and check that article. But we thank you all. Thank you, Michelle. Thanks a lot.
You're most welcome.
Okay, then. We keep
And Michelle, please feel free, if I may interject. I will pass my number on to you. There is strength in numbers.
Okay, not a problem.
Yes.
And anybody who wants to contact my dad, you can feel free. You all can have the number, okay?
All right, great.
Thank you so
much.
much.
All right, then.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. And we'll share, of course, the numbers with...
Yes, with everyone. It's okay.
Yes,
it's
okay
fine.
then. Thank you very
all
much.
Right, then.
Take care.
Okay.
So that was the daughter of Rafiq Shah speaking about his condition. Dale?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's here. I did talk briefly with Jones B. Madeira some weeks ago. I was in Tobago at the time about the possibility of advocacy and doing something or contributing in some way. So I did say to him at that time that I was open to such, and even now I remain open to that kind of advocacy.
Laurie, you did say you wrote to the Ministry of Ministry of Health. What was the response?
I did not get a response. Yeah, I've written to them twice, and I did not. Unfortunately, I did not get a response. But I just think so. I have been speaking with Dr. Pandey, and he has been pushing me and he said, Laurie, this is something that we need to speak about. There's not enough education about it outside. A lot of people are not aware. We need to bring awareness to this disease. Because, as mentioned earlier, there are a lot of people out there who actually have the disease and have not been diagnosed.
Right.
They just think it's a case of nerves. And it really isn't. And
that is that's very common. You're suffering with nerves, because I remember hearing that years ago, even before I knew what Parkinson's was. So people, you label it nerves and that's it.
Yeah, you minimize it.
Yes.
The seriousness and the severity of the disease. But again, in terms of the numbers of people, do we have any idea how many people are living with the disease, whether diagnosed or undiagnosed?
I want to challenge the Ministry of Health with that question, because I don't think enough has been done to let us know the extent to which, one thing is certain, is that in the last, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, this thing has grown very quietly in the background. It's been lurking all the time. And I said, hold a second. Here I am being told about several people who have passed. At one point, I attended some 30 or 40 funerals during COVID. And at every ceremony, every funeral service, I either knew the person who was deceased or I knew the person who died. So I kept saying to myself, obviously, there is a disconnect between how people feel in the field and what they suffer when they come to the domestic situation. We've got to do something to help them, to help ourselves as well, because one cannot remove oneself from the mix. But once we can get organized, there's a lot we can do, but I don't like to take the lead, sharing, giving the ideas. Let it come from the floor. Let it come from people who want to do something, and I give my commitment that I will do as much as I possibly can to get the organization going, and let's see what happens from here on.
David Rudder, in your neck of the woods, with regard to medication and dealing with
support as well.
What's it like out there?
Do you know?
Well, that's one of the things I have no problem with. I don't have to pay for medication. I just have to call my pharmacist, and they will call the doctor, and then I'll get it delivered. So that's pretty good for me.
Do you have any questions for David?
No, not at all.
Let's take some calls. 622-3937. Let's see if anybody wanna getting on the program so that you can speak with the, somebody said very interesting program, a real eye opener, and persons may be living with the disease and not being diagnosed. We really need a public special. Can't see the whole text, but the person saying that there's really need for advocacy. And
support.
And support.
Importantly, not just for the patients, but for the caregivers and family members.
How do you feel about that, Dale?
Yeah.
Well, certainly nobody can argue that there is need in a time like this, and when you have these conditions, there is need for always support,
right.
Whether it's friends, family, relatives, So I can't argue that at all. There is need for support.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
to the panel there.
Morning.
Yes, good morning. So happy that you take my call. I am wondering to know, I have been listening to the program all morning. I'm wondering to know if it is because of an early neglect of the nervous system or something like that that would have caused that. Because, they seem to think that as a child is growing, you make sure they get sufficient nerve food, and they grow up with actually strengthening the nervous system. You think is it a lack of the nerve food or whatever that would cause that? Or too much stress on their work?
That's a good question, and we probably will have when we do the program again, we have a medical specialist in with us
to help explain. But again, there's so much unknown with this disease. Even the people who are tasked to do the research and to answer these questions, we still are unanswered, unfortunately.
Well, I heard I go back to Michael J. Fox because he has been so public with his situation. And he was saying that over the last couple of years, the research has shown there is positive, or there are positives coming out of the research. And he was saying that within the next 3 to 5 years, the treatment would be so good that somebody would have it and you wouldn't be able to. Yeah.
Because these people to whom I've spoken with this morning, they have been they're very outstanding people with a certain amount of strength, and could have really put forward whatever they were doing. That you had to be pleased with every one of them. David Rudder, Madeira, Dale Enoch, and everybody. So I am wanting to know if it's an early neglect of the nervous system. I'm hoping that it can be easily diagnosed and quickly too.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks for calling.
David, have you, in composing while you're writing, have you ever experienced has it any brain fog, or has it slowed you down in that regard?
No.
Okay.
No, I can see it.
Sorry, okay. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. I've been listening to your program. Extremely informative. I have Parkinson's on both sides of my family, my mother's side and my father's side. First, I remember was my father's side, my uncle, who had it probably about 1960s, when they used to call it Inviters Dance. And he lived pretty well, and I used to be very concerned how he could be driving still for many years with it. Anyway, to fast forward, my mom had it. She coped very well because she was a fighter, like my eldest sister, who also had it. But she went into Parkinson's-related dementia and succumbed in 2016. My second sister now has it. She is quite bedridden at this stage. So it has been, it really takes a lot of support for the patient. And also, I just say for caregivers, because as siblings, we have had to make a lot of sacrifice to deal with our parents first. And then, as I say now, my eldest sister, now the second eldest one who has come down with it. And I have a cousin on my dad's side who has it, and he's practically paralyzed. And on mom's side, I have another cousin who died of it a few years ago. So it's really well entrenched in our family. And mom used to go to Miami to some doctor that also to do some trial drug that also Michael Fox was on at the time, But it, as people have been saying on the program, it really needs a lot of support and advocacy. And I think if a group is being formed, I would like to join it as being near to it. And, we don't know if the rest of us will come down with it. So I'm very thankful for the program, and I think it is more and more of us should know more about it. There was a doctor who used to do a lot, young Dr. Brack, but he has migrated now, and he was really good in terms of having monthly meetings, free of charge, with family to find out how we were coping with it, and helping each other when we heard of different ways other people were helping to cope with their own family members. So it is really something that calls for a lot of support. I mean, even he told us with my elder sister, You have a life of your own to live, and you have to keep thinking about it because it's going to only get worse. And we said, yeah, but we will try it till the last minute, which we did. And the last year of her life, we had to put her in a home because really my sister and I couldn't cope anymore. It was really bad. So, yes, it's very good to hear prominent people talking about it, coming to the fore, speaking about it. And as I said, if a group is being formed for advocacy and support, I would be willing to join.
Okay, so stay tuned to Dependency and you will know when that comes, right?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Is it someone asked a question, and let me start with David first. Is it inherited? David, you, as far as you can remember, anybody in your family line had Parkinson's?
No, my mom has a slight tremor on one arm, but she's over. She's going to be 101 this year.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Yeah. So, but that's about the closest I've seen in terms of family members having it similar to what I experienced.
Okay, Laura Lee.
Yes, for that. Yes, as Dad would have mentioned, my grandfather had Parkinson's, but he passed in 1991. Yeah, he had Parkinson's and he developed Parkinson's dementia as well.
Oh, wow.
That's also something that needs, that's also something that needs to be discussed. It does not happen to everyone, but there is a possibility that in the latter stages of Parkinson's that it can happen. So that's also something that
And it could also be one of the things I want to encourage as well is the positive vibes that come from family. Members of family. For instance, my son, who's barely 7 years old, we quarreling one day. And he came up to me very quietly. He usually puts his hand on his back as if he's an attorney. And he says, Papa, why are you worrying? Don't worry. It's the onset of the dementia which is caused by Parkinson's disease. And I almost went through the floor because all the words I have just used, they're just mine. The onset of the disease, or the dementia caused by the disease called this.
Yeah, that's his grandson, my nephew, and he's just 7. And Dad was arguing about something, and he said, Papa, why are you arguing? Stop arguing. He said, you don't worry, that's just the onset of the dementia caused by Parkinson's. I was like, what?
Dale, what about you? Your family? Anybody in your family?
No, I am not aware that any relative of mine suffered from Parkinson's. I mean, they're all virtually dead now. But
right. Your mom never had it?
Not that I'm aware of, and I would know.
Right.
Mom, dad, no.
Okay.
No.
Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
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 Mr. and Mrs.
Morning, ma'am. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
All right.
And Mr. Madeira. Good morning. Special good morning to you. And David Michael Rudder. And I'm going to be professional this morning. I would say Mr. Enoch and no cutie. Oh, Lord, this is such an important program. And I listened to the daughter of Mr. Pibedero. You see, a caregiver, that is important. And that family support, that family unit, that is what's going to help you. Because I have a relative who has Parkinson's. The mother, the daughter had filed for her, and she had to come back because she had nobody to look after the son. So he was in a real bad state. But the irony in this whole thing, she's hard of hearing, she cannot hear. But he's the one who calls me, dial the number and calls me when she has to talk. Well, I would hear her, but she wouldn't hear me. So care is of the utmost importance. And we need to really get more people involved, as we say, advocacy, because I think there's a lot of illness people just take for granted and say, you know what, like long ago they'll say you're suffering with nerves and you're shaking. That is important that we work on that. And I think, as Mr. Jones said, I think it's David, PMA, a positive mental attitude, because you could come down with depression and it's going to be worse, because the brain controls everything. If you touch something and you feel it hot, it's the brain that sends the signal and tell you that that is hot. So the brain is a complicated thing as well. So
right.
I would leave it for other people. And my dearest Daly, I'll call you on Monday. Okay, bye-bye.
I'm sure he's looking forward to that.
Yes.
To having you on Monday.
Before we start to wrap up, I just wanted to I don't want to end on this note, but I wanted to share some of the information that we got from the Mayo Clinic about some of the complications of Parkinson's.
Definitely, somebody.
We have someone on the
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Tasha.
Morning.
Madeira. Madeira. I have a question. At any point in your life, did you suffer from sciatica?
Suffer from what?
From?
Sciatica. Okay.
Sciatica. What is that?
The pain that.
What is that? Sciatic nerve.
In the spine that runs from the leg. No. Well, I guess heard the question. David, you have ever suffered from that?
Actually, I have a dose of that right now.
David?
Yeah.
Or David not? Lord, Mr. Madeira, you ever suffered from sciatica?
Mr. Madeira, you ever suffered from sciatica? Sciatic nerve as well, and it's still with that. Sciatic nerve as well, and it's still with that. Almost every week.
We're having some problems with the
Short man, maybe you could remove David from the feed.
All right, let's try that again.
But to answer the question, for me, no, I've never had that that ailment.
6223937. Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, sir. Listening to your program is very, very informative. But tell me something. What are the early symptoms of Parkinson's?
All right. We do have some of that information that we can share with you, yes.
Yes, so they said some of them is tiredness. Extreme tiredness, as you heard Mr. Madeira. David Rudder said the same thing. They get extremely tired to the point of wanting to just sleep. Yeah. And so, what have
you? I've never had that experience to say that I'm tired, but I know why.
Yeah,
right. But to say that it's chronic tiredness,
so it varies from person to person.
Well, that's what I've been hearing as well. That different strokes. Different folks, apparently.
So, according to the Mayo Clinic, some of the major symptoms of Parkinson's include the tremor, which is a rhythmic shaking, usually beginning in one limb and often your hand or fingers. So that is one sign. Slowed movement, which is also known as bradykinesia, so that your steps would become shorter. It might be difficult to get out of a chair. You may drag or shuffle your feet. You may walk without swinging your hands. That kind of movement. The rigid muscles, so muscle stiffness occurring in any part of your body. And obviously, stiff muscles can be painful and limit your range of motion. Impaired posture or balance, so you may have a stooped posture, or you may fall and have balance problems. The loss of automatic movement, so you have a decreased ability to perform unconscious movements such as blinking, smiling, or as I said, swinging your arms when you walk. Speech changes, you may speak more softly or more quickly, you may slur, you may hesitate before you speak, and your speech may take on more of a monotone, and you may find it difficult to write. I know my mother experienced this as well. It may be difficult for you to write, to hold a pen and to write, and your writing appears smaller. So those are some of the major signs and symptoms of
So let's try and take
Parkinson's.
one more call before we ask our guests to wrap up and give their final thoughts. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Beth. Good morning, Tasha.
Morning.
Morning.
I want to empathize with Mr. Madeira, David, Dale, and Mr. Shah. It is good that they came out and they
explain their situation so that society could take try and deal with whatever is the problem that we so.
All right, caller. Thank you very much. So, David, as we prepare to leave, we thank you very much for staying on with us and sharing your story with us and our listeners this morning. Any closing comments?
Just, I'm going to tell people, have a positive attitude, and that helps quite a big deal, because it can lead you into a sort of depression if you don't come up. But if your attitude to life is different, you actually feel it. Things that happened before, like all the stiffness, suddenly it disappeared for a while, and I said, well, this is strange. But then I realized I had a different attitude to life, and don't be afraid of it. Face what you have to face. The best and the people around you will be like, that support is most important, So I say, big respect to all the people, the supporters of people with this disease, because I know it's not easy, and you're doing a great job. You're the unsung heroes of this whole thing.
Thank you so much, David Rudder. Mr. Madeira, Laurelie.
Quote from the book of Jacob, Madeira. Don't worry, everything will be right. It's the onset of the dementia of the disease, Parkinson's. Let's go out there and be positive about this thing. We will lick it when the time comes to give it a visit.
Mr. Enoch.
Mr. Enoch.
Well, I have to tell you.
Just Laurelie, before, sorry.
Laurelie, yes.
Yes, Laurelie,
yes.
Any closing comments from you?
Yeah, I just want to say to all the caregivers, you're not alone. Lean on your tribe. This is where you really see that there's no I in team. It takes the family you need to lean on one another. No one person can do the care on their own. And to those who are doing the care on your own, pray for strength, pray for courage, and I do the same for everyone every day. So, as I said, there is strength in numbers. So don't be afraid to lean on your tribe.
Lovely. Mr. Enoch?
Lean on your tribe. I love that.
Yes.
I love that. No, I want to commend both Garth and Natasha for taking on this. I don't think there has ever been a program locally of this nature.
Yes.
And I want to commend you all for that and for encouraging me to come forward and talk about the diagnosis, because, as you know, I was skeptical.
Yes.
But I think this has been a tremendous effort on your part. And for those people who are probably not even aware of what their diagnosis is as far as Parkinson's, I think it's easier, it's better to just go and find out. You're having these symptoms, just go and check them out.
And do your research and...
Yes.
And get yourself...
Yeah, even though the research could really scare the hell out of you sometimes.
But
yes,
it's better to be informed. And I think today's program was all the evidence we need that support is required, not just for the people living with the disease, but the people who love them and care for them.
Yes.
So I hope that we are in fact able to make that happen, and we stand ready, Laurelie and others, to assist in any way we can.
Yes, we'll be here for you all anytime you're ready to continue and keep this going. So, Laurelie, Mr. Madeira, thank you.
I don't want any better recommendation than that. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
Have a good day. Bye.
Yes, you too. Take care. And those of you joined us online, and those of you who listening want to get the start of the program, remember you can go back to our Facebook and YouTube channel and get the beginning of our Dependency. All right. So thank you all very much. God bless you all. Have a safe and wonderful week. And we have major news coming up next with Miss Janelle Wilson.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It was the rock with the iron gone and fall because the vibration bust with the welding. When the iron fall, it humbled the bar, and everything start to crawl, everything start to fall, and the truth was plain. See, the engine room is down the way that's caused the back canal. The pan is the body, but the rhythm is harder.